Welcome to another edition of Chocobo Chasers. I am G, and as always, I am joined by my co-hosts, my Chocobros, Erik and Dash. How are you guys doing tonight?
Fantastic.
Doing good.
We've got
Another week.
Erik. Yeah, we've got Erik on his post party float life. He is officially like ascended right now. This is our little mini break from doing interviews. We've got a non-interview. We'll actually be coming right back with another one next week, so definitely be sure to stay tuned. But we do have a lot of fun stuff to be able to go ahead and talk tonight. So I think without further ado, we're going to go ahead and we're going to kick it right off as we normally go ahead and do, and that was with a "What are you playing?" Dash, I'm actually going to have you go ahead and start us off this week, man. What are you playing?
A lot of Lethal Company as always. Got a few more mods that we did that's adding a lot more fun to the game, or at least variety, I should say, because in the base game there's only like two types of moon interiors, like the bunker and the mansion.
Okay.
So we got like a bunch of mods that add like interiors. They have like the back rooms. Um we add new moons. Like there's like a mod that added like it's a different type of mansion, but it's like really dark, really scary, creepy interior, kind of like a castle almost. And also there was like one that's kind of like a bunker, not like the bunkers in the base game, but like kind of like maybe like a World War I like
Oh shit.
tunnel system kind of shit. If you've seen Amnesia the Bunker, like that.
Okay.
Oh man. And we also had new moons like the Halo installation, Bowser, like a Princess's Peach castle, South Park. South Park was hilarious. I gotta get some footage of that one at some point.
Definitely.
But really, I love how easy it is to mod this game. Like
Yeah.
it is a very moddable game. There's like 10,000 mods out there on this Thunderstorm mod manager that we've been using. Um, but I'm really curious to see like what actual updates this developer is going to be adding into the game as he supports it. Because I can imagine he's taking ideas from these mods and maybe saying, okay, maybe we can implement this somehow. That'd be cool. But this is still early access. We'll see what the full game will offer once that time comes, if that comes. But I'm sure it will.
Yeah. And
Um, yeah. But anyways, moving on. Final Fantasy VII remake. Still working on that journey. Got myself up to chapter 8. Met Aerith, and haven't met the filter boss yet. But we're gonna get there. If anybody, I call Hell House the filter boss because that's like the part of the game where if you don't understand the mechanics at that point, you're gonna have a hard time. I
absolutely.
remember my first playthrough of Final Fantasy VII Remake. It took me a while to learn that new system. I'm still kind of adjusting as I'm playing this because it's just the combination of it being action based, but still having this kind of turn based, or at least the ATB
Yeah.
gauge. It kind of just really throws me off because I'm too focused on doing my regular attacks that I'm always forgetting to actually be spending my ATB bars. But uh I mean, my first playthrough I really struggled, not with Hell House, but the sewer boss Abzu or whatever.
Ooh, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, I'm not understanding this. I think I had to turn down the difficulty at some point, but I mean, I'm hoping to just bait. I'm not going to do it this time. I'm going to force myself to learn it and get through this. But, we are officially 1 month away from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
We
So
are. Cannot
4 week,
wait.
like 4 weeks and a couple days. So it's getting there. I don't see any reason why I shouldn't be able to get this done as long as I focus it down. But
No.
uh, another what other news, newer games that I've been playing that I haven't mentioned before. First one, Void Bastards. This is a roguelike space kind of game. You go on different ships and like salvage. It's like a first person shooter. It's randomly generated ship design every single time you jump in. Also, the character they give you is randomly generated every time you die. So they'll have like different traits that might be positives or negatives.
Right.
And you just go in with very limited ammo and resources. So sometimes it's very beneficial not to fight every enemy you come across. So sometimes I just streak through rooms, just grab all the loot, go to the next one, and just get to the escape pod. But the late game in that, when you get to the lower levels, is a lot harder. So I haven't finished like the full run of that yet, but it's a work in progress. But I ended up getting distracted by other projects, as I always do, and unfortunately haven't gone back to it. And the other new game, surprise, surprise, it's another roguelike, but this one's a roguelike strategy, and this is called Against the Storm. So this just went recently. It's been early access for a while. It officially got its release, like I think a couple months ago. It's a Xbox Game Pass game, so it's a roguelike, procedurally generated like strategy game. So you just start off with a settlement, and each time, like the way it works is you choose like your weapon, your building blueprints. So you don't get to build the same buildings every time. It'll give you like a choice of 3 buildings that you can choose from. So you'll get a couple of those. You'll start off. As you expand, you'll find like you have to like cut down trees to get to these groves, and then the groves will show you what resources are in there, and there might be special events in there too. But you gotta like fulfill orders from the queen before a certain time. She'll give you resources and stuff based on that, and also reputation, which you can use to unlock more blueprints for that run. And then, once you get maxed out and beat the level, you go on and start, you go to like a world map as you're trying to move through the world map and try to make your way towards certain objectives. So you just like slowly work your way out there. Then you have like your castle that you use for like your upgrades that like give you like your passives, and maybe even unlock a few more blueprints that you can choose from as you go through. So it has all the bells and whistles of a roguelike, where, you don't start off with everything unlocked, but as you go through, you get more options, more modifiers to your runs. So I'm like playing on the basic level, and this is hard. Like, I'm not sure if you've ever played like Stronghold or even know of it. It's kind of like you don't manage your workers like micromanaging like StarCraft, Warcraft. You build buildings and assign the workers to that, and they'll go to the resources that are within range of those buildings to do that.
Cool.
So, as you bring in more villagers, you gotta build more houses for them and assign them to all the different tasks. Keep them happy, because and there's all these different species too. So you'll have like lizard men, humans, beavers. Beavers are good at cutting down the trees. Lizard men are good at hunting and cooking, and the humans are good at foraging kind of stuff. So you got to play them to their strengths, but they also have different demands too to make them happy. So if one population's too unhappy, they start leaving. So really, really cool concept. I really am enjoying it from the like couple hours I played before we jumped on this call. So I'm looking forward to getting back into it probably after this. Anyways, that's all for me.
Sweet. Now the real question is Erik playing anything other than Tarkov?
Well, I can tell you this. I thought about it. I was like, man, I need to play something else. Let's fucking Tarkov so I can talk about something else. I still haven't been playing Tarkov. I played a little bit of Madden yesterday. Was hungover as shit yesterday. So I spent the day just kind of hanging out, played a little bit of Madden, just kind of wander aimlessly. And then I figured I would try to get back into Cyberpunk. So I played, no, I haven't played a lot of time the past couple of days. I've been gone. But I wanted to try it and keep going. And I'm a little bit further into, I mean, I didn't really quest very much. I just kind of did random stuff. I killed a couple cyber psychos, but the new system with like the skill points that you add to different things as you go along and you progress is really good.
It is.
And they really did improve the game tremendously compared to what it was early on. It was still a good game early on, but this is just, if this has been what it would have.
This is kind of the completed vision of that now.
Oh, 100%. And I still haven't gotten to Phantom Liberty. I'm going to wait to do the main story of Cyberpunk again, then jump into Phantom Liberty. But it's, I'm going to have to start tanking through it again, because I actually had a lot more fun this go around than I did last time. But last time I played it, I was also like right after Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
kind of a hard thing to follow up a little bit. So
Yeah, so we're gonna go back to it here soon because it's been a little bit of a lull. I'm a little bit tired of Tarkov.
Did we ever touch on the fact that Cyberpunk 2 is going to have multiplayer?
it's not confirmed quite
Yeah.
yet.
I thought that was
But-
something that they seem like they're really going to go for.
It's
sounds
in a
like.
job listing for Cyberpunk. And I will say that Spider-Man also, there was a lot of stuff about job listings for a multiplayer project for them, and then that ended up getting canceled. So
That would have been a cool thing to actually have as multiplayer, because you don't have just Spider-Man or Miles Morales that you could have added in there. You could have had a couple of those other characters that come fight with you too.
Yeah,
I need
Across the
to start that
Spider-Verse
soon.
has, I mean, thousands of them. So
Yeah.
yeah,
The credits of Cyberpunk actually thank the multiplayer dev team that they had.
Oh yeah, because they were gonna have like the multiplayer DLC or something like that. But,
Yeah, and
at
they
first.
scrapped it, but they still thanked them in the original credits.
I mean,
mean-
yeah, they did some work on it, so they need to get
Mhm.
some credit, I think, at least.
absolutely. But no, aside from Cyberpunk, anything else you've been rocking lately?
No, not this week. I didn't have a lot of time.
I will say I am surprised that you got weaned off the Tarkov a little bit, but
It was only because I was thinking, I was like, fuck, I gotta play something else for what are you playing? If it wasn't for what are you playing, I would have just said fuck it and I'd have kept playing.
just no life Tarkov for the rest of your life.
Just stand your ground on it.
Not the rest of my life, but I'm at least gonna try to get further into it. Like as you progress the game, you get traders and shit like that. You already have all the traders, but you get
Right.
better stuff as you get, like they have loyalty levels. So the highest I've ever gotten was loyalty level 3 with one of the traders. I forget which one it is, but I didn't get it all of them, and that's what I want to do this wipe is get all to at least like loyalty level 3. I think they go to 4,
Okay.
but I don't know if I can play that much.
How long does a wipe typically go
6
for?
months.
Okay. So it's
That's
kind of
actually
a
not that bad,
season,
though.
basically.
Yeah, it's basically a season. So it starts.
Okay.
It started 2 days after Christmas, or like 3 days after Christmas.
So probably
a little
till like
over a
early
month.
summer or something
Yeah.
like that, May, June.
And a good chunk of the people quit around this time, just
Okay.
because. I mean, it's a lot you got to put in.
Yeah. No, I've just experienced kind of something similar. So
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Call of Duty's all like does their seasonal stuff on a 2-month cycle, so you gotta
fucking grind, but that's how they get you, and that's how they get all these people to buy the battle pass so that you can zoom through that thing because you get the XP boost, and playing with your buddies also gets the XP boost. It's just it's a good sales tactic, to be honest, but also there are times it does feel like kind of a little predatory.
I didn't even want to bother mentioning how much I play Call of Duty because they did have like the boys crossover event
Right.
going on right now, and there's like a soup version where you pick up like compound V and you'll get like super
Mhm.
speed, increased durability. You can like shoot lightning, and
Wasn't that the last game? The last one?
I think they did have a compound V mode back then too. This is like something they're doing like a
Yeah.
second round because they brought A Train back or into as a character now.
Yeah,
with all
and
the
before
others.
it was Starlight,
Noir,
Black Noir,
and Homelander.
Homelander. Yeah. So no,
I got the weapon skin. That's all I cared about from the event.
So this week I have actually been playing a few different games. I played a shit ton of Destiny 2, and I am almost reaching the level cap. So we'll see how much longer I end up staying with it now that I'm getting pretty close. I did play a lot of Iron Banner within Destiny 2 this week, which is my favorite mode. It was a fuck ton of grinding, which really sucks.
Iron Banana.
Yeah. So that was fun. I've been playing a lot of The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, playing the story mode. I actually still have not played No Return
Ooh,
yet. I'm
gotta
waiting
try
to
it.
finish the game before I do. Because I'm trying not to kind of push myself to do so many games before, because the next month is going to be kind of crazy for game releases. One we'll be talking about here in a little bit, Suicide Squad. And then obviously, we interviewed Caleb Pierce last week, who's going to star in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, out February 29th. So I'm trying not to start anything too heavy because I know once Final Fantasy especially comes out, I'm not going to be playing anything else. Like that's going to be 100% of my attention. So expect a review from myself and Dash on this one when it comes out, because I'm sure it'll probably be our primary game most fall. So Destiny 2, Last of Us Remastered, played some Madden. I'll comment on this. As someone who typically buys Madden once every few years, I bought last year's Madden and this year, peer pressure 100%, but ended up buying it. I have had, especially recently, some of the worst experiences playing Madden that I've ever had. Whether it's bad connections with other players in our franchises, the way that that their updates are changing, whether it be injury settings or other things within like the game. It's been kind of just a piss poor experience. So I might be taking a little bit of a break from Madden. Once NCAA comes out, I don't know that I'll buy Madden again for a while. Once NCAA comes out, even if it is just Madden with NCAA skin, I will still play that just for Dynasty and Road to the Heisman mode. So we'll.
Are you gonna run the Utes when it comes out?
I will run. Actually, I went to Utah State, so I'm an Aggie. Shout out Jordan Love and Bobby Wagner for.
Is it only like the
alumni from
top
my
division
school.
teams, or can you like play as like?
So there's rumors that it'll be D1 to start, but that they may look to add some of like the D2 and FCS schools later on. So we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Let's see. Actually, wait. Purdue.
No,
Fort
Purdue's a
Wayne?
D1. Mhm.
No, Purdue. The Purdue Fort Wayne Mastodons. So they're actually Division One. I didn't know that.
There
Yeah,
you
what are
go.
they? What are they? 1AA?
That's what I'm looking for. Just says Division One.
Yeah.
Horizon League.
Yeah,
You'd be shocked at how many teams like you think are D2 are actually D1. They're just not actually considered in like the.
there's not a Power 5 school.
Yeah,
So.
they're just not the big schools.
But anyway, so moving on to our next topic of tonight. So we wanted to just thank all of our listeners. We officially had our most listened to week of the show of all time last week. And the last 2 weeks have really just been banger after banger after banger. Obviously, chatting with Deborah Wilson, star of the Star Wars Jedi games and Suicide Squad, and then also following that up with Caleb Pierce. Both of those people, it's funny because they are so different. They are two completely different people, but also they represent kind of what is so special about gaming, and you get to have these different personalities come forward. Caleb, obviously, is kind of like just like a really sweet, kind person. And then Deborah is just like, she's so her. Like she is so 100% Deborah all the time. And that like, she's an incredible performer. And that just like being that way, it makes her so much better at her job too. So I would say, what a hell of a way to kick off 2024. We are so excited for a lot of the stuff that we have planned for this year. But we just wanted to say thank you to everybody, because honestly, it's been an amazing start. We are really, really appreciative of everybody who, listens to us on Spotify, who watches us on YouTube, who follows us on our socials. You guys have no idea how much that means. So thank you. Really, it does mean the world.
Because it didn't have to be us.
Exactly. It didn't. And so didn't want to spend too much time on that, but just wanted to say thank you to everybody. So going from positive to kind of negative news, this has been just the theme of gaming again over the last 5 to 6 months. So Microsoft, who is the biggest company in the world in terms of market cap, laid off 1,900 people, which for any organization would be huge. But the people that they laid off were 1,900 Activision, Blizzard, and Xbox employees. Some very big effects of these layoffs are from the physical media division, which is a big sign of what is coming down the pipeline. with the leaks that happened during the Microsoft FTC fiasco, there was a lot of documentation that pointed to the signs that Xbox getting out of the physical media game. What do you do in that case? You get rid of your physical media division, or at least most of them. And that's exactly what they did. So they cut 8% of their company, which they have 22,000 employees. So that is maybe not as big as some of these other gaming companies, but that's 2,000 people almost who no longer have their jobs. And included in that was I want to say Blizzard CEO, Mike Ibarra, who decided to leave the company. It sounds like it was more of a you leave or we're going to make you leave kind of situation, because he literally said about 60 days ago that he was going to be here for literally as long as possible. Like they would have to make him get out in order for him to leave. So it just feels like this is becoming commonplace. Another month, another layoff. And our next topic is also another layoff. Like I'm getting a little frustrated with gaming companies right now that, like, what is enough? What is a situation like? Is it poor planning that is putting you in these situations? Is it and let me preface this a little bit, because as someone who has been part of a company that has gone through an acquisition, layoffs is part of that. It always is. And that's unfortunate, but it's typically that way because you have like two CEOs and there can only be one CEO. So, okay, maybe that's understandable here. But you're laying off just a shit ton of people in this case. It's not just like one role or one section that's affected. And so I'm almost at a loss for words, because it's frustrating, and it kind of makes you angry, and it's like, why does this continue to happen? So I also wanted to get your guys' take on it, because didn't want to just be the only one to talk about it.
I
One
knew I
thing-
no, no, you go ahead first.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
another thing we have to factor in is really Microsoft wasn't buying the people of Activision. They were buying the properties.
100%.
So in that, I mean, like you said, layoffs happen when acquisitions happen. So you got to, like, how much of this was overlap? Did they have some of these positions? Did they have too many people on one thing? Are they going to condense some things for other things? Like, what's their physical media team look like if they're letting go that many people from Activision's? It's just sometimes jobs are, even though jobs can be created and stuff like this, jobs are also condensed and people have workloads added onto them.
Right.
And I know, like, there's a post from Jason Schreier about how, like, Halo Infinite's like structure went from a dedicated dev team to having 18-month contractors work on it constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're constantly losing talent as you cycle in these contractors, because you don't want to give them a permanent position. You just want to have them do this 18-month contract and then get the next one in.
Yeah. And
well, you can see the quality of Halo Infinite and why it is like that.
Absolutely.
They don't have an actual dedicated dev team.
And with the layoffs in the Activision side, especially all the Call of Duty developers, people are theorizing we might be seeing the same thing happen there. And the last thing we need is some people in those Call of Duty divisions going, especially in the QA department, because we've seen some bad stuff happen when their QA department wasn't up to snuff.
Absolutely. And oh, go ahead, Dash.
Yeah. And I know, like, I posted that little snippet. So between this Riot layoff and the Microsoft layout, putting those together, it's already like half of the total from 2023 layoffs. It's like, and it's only January. Come on. This is not a good look for the game industry. If you're someone who works in it, you're scared for your job.
You have to be
scared for your future.
And as someone who, aside from acting, why would somebody want to work in gaming dev right now? Because it's such a volatile industry. Unless you absolutely love it, and I think you have to in order to be able to embrace that volatility.
Really shitty.
Yeah, there's crunch, there's volatility, there's no safety. Even if you're like a big Insomniac had the best-selling PlayStation game, and they laid off a decent part of their studio and then got hacked. Like, just absolute batshit crazy things that are going on here, and it doesn't seem like anybody's safe. We haven't seen, Santa Monica lay off people. We haven't seen Naughty Dog lay off people, but that doesn't mean it's not coming. Like, and we haven't seen these companies. I guess Santa Monica released Ragnarok in late 2022, but we haven't seen Naughty Dog release a game in, I'm not counting the remasters because I'm not. It's not. And haven't we seen them release an original game since The Last of Us 2 in 2020?
Without the remasters, though, they probably are laying off people.
And that is true, but it still may be coming. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
Like, you have to give these companies time to cook. Absolutely. And they're making games that are profitable. Like The Last of Us is a critically acclaimed game, but it does not sell as much as COD. And I think Naughty Dog knows that. PlayStation knows that. But PlayStation also wants to be known as the place where people play games that are really good, not just that sell really well. And so there's a lot going on here and a lot to unpack. So we'll have to watch, obviously, as the year kind of progresses, to see if, one, more studios continue this trend, and two, are any of them going to kind of buck this trend? Are we going to start to see more studios bringing people in as opposed to firing people? Because I just, it's getting a little depressing, to be honest. Like, I hate seeing people that I know and respect on social media having to say that they're looking for new jobs after, working on something they absolutely love. And then they have to sign NDAs where they can't talk about that experience. And I know that that's difficult as well, because sometimes the easiest way to be able to vent that frustration is just to be able to say, like, hey, this fucking sucks. This is what happened to me. Here's a lesson to learn for everybody else. I hope this doesn't happen to you. Like, and it can be as simple as that sometimes.
No, I'd air those bitches out. 100%.
Yeah.
Fuck that NDA.
Go Michael Thomas on it. Just be like,
yeah.
Big tragedy with the Blizzard layoffs, though, is that they're also canning that open world survival game that they've had in development for apparently 6 years. So that's 6 years of hard work that
just wasted.
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would think that you're after 6 years, you probably have something almost viable at that point. You have to, in this year, it's like it doesn't take, unless it's a major game. Like,
no, even still, you should have something,
and it should be salvageable at that point. But to just take 6 years of work and just say we don't care. I know that happens. It happens all the time, right? But it just sucks because there could have been something there, and it's like lost media. Yeah. Like, it's gonna be like the Batman movie or Batwoman movie. We're never gonna see it.
HBO just said, "Yeah, well, fuck this."
We'll take the tax breaks as opposed to even letting someone see this movie, which is insane. We are going to pay all these people. We're going to do all this, and it's worth it for us to still just take a loss on this.
Is that the same it works for Blizzard with their games? It's like they get a tax write-off if they cancel.
They may. I have no idea. That's a great question. Something maybe to look into. But so in addition to Blizzard in Microsoft laying off all these people, Eidos Montreal also laid off this week. And in addition to that, we found out that a new Deus Ex was canceled 2 years into production, which, one, sucks because it would be awesome to have a new Deus Ex game. And Eidos Montreal has had a rough last few years. They were huge support on the Avengers project, which obviously did not meet expectations from a sales perspective. I will say, as someone, I'm kind of an Avengers defender. I played the game. I bought it for $20. So let me frame that correctly here. I bought it for $20, and I only played the campaign. I had a good time. I will say the Iron Man combat was great. They did a really good job of making each hero feel different. Didn't necessarily love playing as the Hulk, but like Thor and Iron Man, awesome. So Eidos also no longer, I think, owns the IP of Tomb Raider as well. So
Mhm.
it we're like just in a situation now where they're just kind of in a bad spot. So again, it's just depressing to see how many of these studios are like almost cannibalizing themselves because they're not real. It's I don't know if the reason this got canceled was because they project it wasn't going to do as well as they had hoped. But if you put 2 years into a project and you have had kind of a bad streak and you're doing it into kind of a beloved IP, like Deus Ex is pretty regularly celebrated. I think Mankind Divided was the last game that came out in the series, and it was very highly rated from what I remember.
Funny enough, I have all those Deus Ex games. I've never played the newer ones. I've only played the original and the second one. What was the second one called?
I like Thief a lot.
Thief
Yeah.
is great too. Like, and that's the one that I played the original a lot, but never
Oh
played
yeah,
the reboot.
the OG Thief was great.
Yeah.
Used to watch my brother play that for hours.
I might go back and actually play Deus Ex at some point, but that's kind of when my backlog allows, kind of thing.
Well, and another game that they put out was Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy in 2021, which was a sleeper hit for a lot of
Oh yeah,
people. I absolutely loved that game. And coming off of the heels of, the debacle that was Avengers,
I think
Guardians of
Guardians
the
of the Galaxy is
Galaxy,
on sale too.
it was
it was
actually one of the free
free.
games
Yeah,
for the Epic
Oh no shit.
20 days of Christmas or whatever.
It's
And it
14.99 on
is
Steam right now.
it is an incredible game. Like I played it for, I think I paid full price for it, and I absolutely loved it. The voice acting is great. It's an original story. It's got some awesome Marvel, little Easter eggs. I can't believe that it didn't get the praise that I would expect, especially because Guardians is one of those IPs in film that is just universally celebrated. Like James Gunn
Mhm.
obviously brought them to the forefront because a lot of people didn't know who they were if you're not a comic book
oh
fan
no.
prior to
Even
that
if you were
point.
a comic book fan,
You were
people weren't
like,
really.
yeah, a
Yeah,
talking raccoon, like
I didn't care like to hear that Guardians was gonna be made back in the day.
No.
yeah,
Guardians was like
Ends up being my favorite ones.
yeah,
maybe low B tier, upper C tier team. Like you know them if you read a handful of comics, but
right.
they weren't like Avengers, X-Men,
No,
Fantastic Four tier, right? So
yeah. So it's just I hope Eidos Montreal again, just like Microsoft, like Blizzard, like Activision, ends up figuring this out and we do see them get to go ahead and make some new IPs like because or I would love to see a sequel to Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't think we will because I've read that it costs a lot to license these games. And that is what was kind of the hugest issue with Avengers is that it costs so much for Square and Eidos Montreal to market that. And so I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
I really hope Blade ends up being good.
I hope so too. And we've got a lot of Marvel games actually in the works from studios everywhere. Obviously, Wolverine from Insomniac, and if you read the leaks, a lot more from there. We've got an Iron Man game coming from EA Motive, the studio behind the Dead Space remake, which is really encouraging. We've also got Amy Hennig's new studio, who's making a Captain America and Black Panther game set in World War II, which is fucking sweet. We've got Blade, just like Erik mentioned, which is coming from Arcane.
Mm-hmm.
We've got, I think that might be everything
Did EA Motive make Anthem because the exosuit flying in Anthem was actually really well done.
yeah,
And
that was
that
like
rem
one big selling point of it.
and that reminded me of being Iron Man kind of.
So
As much as that
they
game sucked.
did not. EA
Okay.
Motive has made Star Wars Battlefront 2,
Oh shit.
and Star Wars Squadrons, and then Dead Space. So they've actually only done 3 games so far. But they're they're doing this Iron Man game, and it was announced back in 2022. So we haven't heard anything for a pretty good while.
Is that the VR one, or is that
No, this is
something
a
else?
totally separate. It'll be like a third person, action adventure game. So we'll have to wait and see what ends up happening with it, but we haven't heard from it in a while. So we might be due.
I'll
So
defend Battlefront 2 until I
I
die.
loved it. Hey, you will not
It-
find a hater here.
I
It
didn't
took a long
play it.
time for them to fix it because they had some issues with the first game and they kind of scrapped that and went straight to 2 really quickly. And even that had some issues at first, but I thought the story was pretty fun. And then honestly, like the multiplayer was a blast.
The space battles were awesome.
See,
Space battles were great.
I didn't play it until it was like heavily discounted, and it was like the final version of the game where they didn't do the loot boxes anymore. All the cosmetics were unlocked at that point. But yeah, it was a really fun game at that point.
So
I had it when they had loot boxes, but it wasn't like
it didn't feel like terrible at that point.
it didn't feel like I was at a detriment by playing because I was still at like sometimes the best player on my team.
Well, yeah, it was like I think the loot boxes were like what, only cosmetic shit, right? There wasn't really anything game.
Yeah.
Well, I think you had to unlock heroes through the like
That was a big one at first, but they changed it pretty quickly because public backlash was so severe on it. That's what happens. And
Yep.
the people spoke up and they said, hey, you know what? We fucked up. We're going to go ahead and change this. I can respect that. EA is a studio that I have publicly shit on in a lot of different instances. But I will say over the last, I don't know, 5 years or so, they've done a lot of really good work to kind of try and repair that image. And they've taken a lot of public feedback really well. We'll have to see what obviously ends up happening with NCAA football and how they finally end up bringing it back and what that's going to look like. But, Dead Space was incredible. Iron Man should be pretty good, hopefully. I mean, it's a really easy IP to work with. If you can get the flying mechanics down and, have an interesting story, you're fucking golden. So with all of this, and this is probably a topic we can pretty quickly go over. So we mentioned that Blizzard's CEO is out with the Microsoft layoffs. So they did introduce a new CEO, and it's actually a former Activision, executive. And I guess that one part that was a little frustrating with everything going on is that I guess Blizzard was under the impression that they would have a little bit of autonomy under Microsoft and they'd kind of get to promote from within and decide who that new CEO was going to be. Microsoft obviously had some other plans. They decided to go ahead and name this new CEO instead. This info comes from Jason Schreier, who, if you do not follow on Twitter, would highly recommend, as he is probably the most famous gaming journalist in the world, and the news that he breaks is incredible. He works on like year-long stories, and we end up finding out about, he was the one to break, some of the information about Activision's, workplace and how awful it was for some people. So really just if you're looking for some great video game journalists to follow, Jason Schreier, Gene Park are some great ones that you'll want to check out. But definitely wanted to make sure we're including that point here. So now that we've talked about some really negative shit, let's focus on some positives. We have a PlayStation State of Play coming up on Wednesday, and of course it's happening while Erik is at work because it has to. But so
I'll never be off of work for these unless it's the Xbox one on Sundays.
Yeah,
they do.
So we just had the Xbox Developer Direct, and it was a pretty good show. Really enjoyed it. We got to see some fun info about Avowed, Hellblade, Indiana Jones, and all of it looked really good. We are getting a pretty heavy show for this PlayStation State of Play. So it's going to be over 40 minutes, over 15 titles they're going to go ahead and show. They have specifically said we're going to get a deep look at both Stellar Blade and Rise of the Ronin. Both are expected to be kind of some of PlayStation's heavy hitters for 2024. And those
Stellar
are two
Blade
games.
looks especially interesting, but
Oh yes. But honestly, it is cool that we are getting 2 new IPs from PlayStation this year. I would like to see maybe just a trailer, a teaser from some of our, more established studios to show like, hey, this is a game that we're working on. Things that I fully expect to like, I think we'll probably get some more info about Death Stranding 2. I think that's there's been a lot of smoke about that, and I
Hideo
think we might,
Kojima's reposting his old trailer from
yeah.
2022, so I think he's building up that hype by putting it on his timeline again.
Yeah. I think we might get a release window. I think like 2025 is what it'll say, or something to that extent. But I think we'll get some of that. So this also falls on the anniversary of the original Final Fantasy VII. So I do think we will get a tiny bit about Rebirth. I think we'll actually get a demo date as well. I think it'll come out maybe that same day, or maybe 2 weeks before the game or whatever. I'm probably not going to play the demo this time around. I've played enough of the game. I want to go in as blind as possible. I want this to be just a really fun experience. So I wanted to get a take from you guys, though. Do you guys see any surprises that we might see? And who do you hope is going to end up showing up?
Y'all
I
knew who
hope.
I'm here for.
Our boy Jin Sakai.
That's all I'm ready for, man.
I think that it legitimately could happen. I would love to see the way that Ghost of Tsushima ends. There's a really good segue into, having the Shogun like start sending his people, or maybe like moving to mainland Japan. Like there's a lot of wiggle room there to be able to, expand that story a little bit. It's gonna suck if it does show Ghost, but it's gonna be just like the PC port, which I guess that wouldn't suck, because you get a lot more people get to experience an incredible game. But would love to see a trailer, or just like I said, a teaser for Ghost 2. The Last of Us 3. Naughty Dog has had a pretty shit year aside from the Last of Us 2 remastered, but working on your online game for 2-3 years and then just flat out canceling it, and really nothing to show for it at that point. Like, I think it'd be awesome to come through and just a give me, just like they had the first teaser for The Last of Us 2, where it was just the stop sign with the Firefly logo. I'd be totally fine with that. I don't even care. But would love to see something like that, or maybe a Horizon 3, like just a quick teaser.
I think we're getting that remake first, aren't we?
The first game looks great. I
don't know why they're remaking it though.
The problem is I think that these remakes for PlayStation are selling really well. And so it's giving Sony reason to just say like, well, yeah, I mean, if it's been 5 years, let's remake our game. Dash, what do you hope to see?
Oh, just something. I know we've been poking Sony with that stick for the past couple podcast episodes, kind of just doing like, do something, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, let's see. Maybe some DLC announcements for Spider-Man 2 if I'm not sure if it's a bit too soon for that, but
I don't think so. So what's funny, they announced the DLC for Spider-Man 1 when the game released.
Mm-hmm.
They announced it. Which, looking back, is kind of shitty. It's like you already know you had this like in the pipeline. You didn't just release it with the game, but it was only $10 for the DLC, so it wasn't like it was terrible. But
DLC for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out of pocket and I'm gonna say maybe we get like, let's say Returnal 2.
House Marquee coming with a sequel. Returnal
I would love a
incredible
sequel
game.
to it. It was really underrated, but
It's
I would
fucking hard, but it is really good. No,
Let's see something from Ben Studios. Speaking of underrated PlayStation games with
Hell
Days
yeah.
Gone.
And there's been a lot of info about like how Ben pitched Days Gone 2. It was rejected by Sony, which kind of sucks. And then the rumor was that they actually began working on an Uncharted game, to which PlayStation again, after about a year, was like, yeah, this ain't it. So now it's like, what are they working on? I It would be really cool if we got to finally see Corey's new IP with Santa Monica. There's a lot of rumors that they're working on kind of like a science fiction IP, maybe their own kind of answer to Starfield. Just give me something from one of the big studios. Just a teaser. It doesn't have to be an existing IP. I mean, I'd almost prefer that it's not. Like, I'd almost prefer something new.
I swear to God, if we go in there and it starts off a trailer with Blue Point, and we get some,
I would not be terribly upset at that because
get some Bloodborne, yeah. Let's get a Bloodborne remake in the style of Demon Souls, please.
do you know how like much the internet would break if that would happen? Because
They've been asking just for a remaster. Give them a remake and you're gonna fucking sell the console out.
just the most insane, like, and it's crazy because PlayStation owns the IP for Bloodborne. Like, FromSoft cannot make Bloodborne on any other console except for PlayStation, but obviously FromSoft is working on their Shadow of the Erdtree expansion for Elden Ring. Man, it that would break the internet if that were to happen. I will say if it said Blue Point for anything, I would be stoked because having played their remakes, they're just really good. They are really good. And man, my brain is just a buzz right now thinking of all these potential ideas. I'm gonna put it in the universe, Dino Crisis. If you're gonna do it, now's the time. I think that
the universe.
yeah.
Jack and Daxter.
You know what would also be a great one, as they've had a continued relationship
Soul
for such a
Reaver,
long.
fuck it. We're all putting our hopes and dreams out.
Yeah. One that is not actually too far fetched because they have such a good relationship. Square and PlayStation have kind of been hands on together for a very long time. Kingdom Hearts 4.
Yeah.
There's potential here. So we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, this is happening Wednesday, 4 p.m. Central. Be sure to check it out. It's going to be a good one, I think. I'm expecting we're probably going to get some indie titles. We're probably going to get some, games that I'm probably not super interested in, like that weird walking one that showed up on the most recent one. It was such an odd game.
It was made by the same guy that did Getting Over It, where you're in that jar with the fucking axe, and I guess you're just trying to like climb. So it's just made to piss people off, or it's definitely gonna be good streamer material, I believe, at least.
So no, but I think with that, I think we've kind of discussed mostly everything that we wanted to talk about. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Haven't gotten to play Tekken 8 yet, so I can't talk about that yet.
Dash isn't gonna be coming in hot next week, maybe. With
just give me Ghost of Tsushima 2.
I'm putting it in the universe so that we can have something good for Erik gaming wise. We need this.
We need it.
You're getting Rise of the Ronin coverage, so that'll be pretty good for you.
It does look
I do
pretty
want to
sweet.
play that. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, with that, I think this is a perfect place to end. Again, stay tuned. We do have an interview scheduled for next week's show. We appreciate all you guys checking us out. And until next time, we will catch you guys later.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.